name is Nur Jannatul and I'm from English Literature 2019 di kelas. So in this final project of theory of culture, I will answer some questions. The first, what material was obtained during the course of cultural theory? The second, what lesson learned from this subject? And the last, what next activity will be done after learning this subject? So, material studied in theory of culture from book Cultural Theory and Introduction by Philip Smith. So there are some chapters. The first chapter 7, the post-structural turn, and then chapter 8, culture, structure, and agency. 3 attempts at synthesis, and next chapter 9, British cultural studies. Chapter 10, the projection and reception of culture. Next chapter is cultural aspects, narrative and hermeneutics. Chapter 12, and this is the last chapter about psychoanalytic approaches to culture and the self. Number 2, lesson learned from theory of culture. There are a total of 6 chapters that I go to study in this subject. In these chapters, discuss various theories and materials that are related to material and other theories. These chapters introduce general cultural theory methods from the start and present numbers for the purpose of adding to the accuracy of each theory. The first, chapter 7, the post-structural turn. In chapter 7, I learned the differences between structuralism and post-structuralism. Structuralism was slowly being replaced by post-structuralism as the dominant paradigm in French cultural theory. And post-structuralism is best understood as a reflection and result of structuralism rather than as an opposing school of thought. The next chapter, chapter 8, culture, structure, and agency, 3 attempts at synthesis. So chapter 8 talk about culture, structure, and agency. From this chapter, it explains that the relationship between systems of meaning and human action has long been a theme in cultural theory. There are 3 influential figures that are focus of this chapter, namely Pierre Bourdieu, Anthony Giddens, and Norbert Elias. In chapter 9, tell me about the field known generally as British cultural studies has become one of the dominant players in contemporary cultural. British cultural studies are characterized by certain main orientations. It is highly interdisciplinary in terms of research, interest, and theoretical influence. Louis Althusser's ideas and structuralism were also included, and a clear understanding emerged of the relative autonomy of culture and the importance of an ideological framework for shaping popular consciousness. Talk this chapter 10 about the projection and reception of culture. In this chapter, we look at a different, perhaps visionary character that understand culture as something every concrete that is produced and controlled. According to this chapter, research on the projection and description of culture covers a number of fields, mostly in a thought, language, have mass communication of film and politician studies and sociology. And next, chapter 11, culture as text, narrative, and hermeneutics. The first topic discussed here is structuralist poetics. So when structuralists approach the analysis of narrative, especially conventional stories and literature, their activity in is often given name of structuralist poetics. And the last chapter, this chapter talks about psychoanalytic approaches to culture and the self. So the relationship between cultural theory and psychoanalytic theory is a complex one. There are clear affinities in as far as both social life is essentially about meanings and emphasize the need for interpretation. In this chapter, it explained that the relationship becomes strained over two themes. So the lessons I can take that everyone has their own perspective and different ways of thinking. Extraordinary thinking can make his future perspective easier for us to understand. So the last questions. Next activity, I have to read more from various sources, because if I only read from books given by the lecturer without explanation, it might be a very difficult for me to understand. But after studying this subject, I come to know more about theories better than before, and I will try to practice it in my daily life. Thank you.